So the format today is I gave Donna a couple of topics, and my favorite one was, what's so great about women, which I intend to talk about. And then I'll talk for about 20 minutes, and then we'll open up for questions. And I'm happy to answer anything about Nickelodeon. Have I been slimed? Yes. What's the formulation? I'd have to kill you. What's different about men and women's sense of humor? Happy to answer about that. How I lived a perfectly joyous life of imbalance. Happy to answer anything about that. So just think about your questions. There's no question that's off limits, and I get myself into trouble all the time. So when I started my career 40 years ago, there were books that were written to women about how we were supposed to act. We were supposed to wear navy blue because navy blue, I hardly see any navy blue in this audience, yet it is a sincere color. That was what we were supposed to wear, and I don't see a single bow tie. We were supposed to wear bow ties, navy blue, blend in, talk sports. We were not supposed to act like women. We were supposed to act like little men. I never bought one of those books. I refused to support that idea. And when I was given an award in 1989, the women in cable at their annual convention in Denver asked me to make a speech about why I had succeeded. So consider the environment. Women are not supposed to talk about their difference. We are just the same. We are equal and just exactly the same. Hey, my 2-year-old knew there was a difference between men and women. So I stand up. The title of my speech is, Why Have You Succeeded? Because I am a woman. You could hear the gasps in the audience. The women were ducking and covering. Pretend you don't know her. Don't look at her. She's going to tell everything. It's going to be horrible. But fortunately, I was funny, which really helps when you're delivering a tough message like women are different. And I started with the fact that I learned, the reason that I had succeeded was because I learned everything I needed to know about management from my very terrible 2-year-old son, my treacherous 3-year-old son, and my flummoxing 4-year-old son, Sam. He was the toughest kid ever, and there was no customer in the whole wide world who could be as persnickety, as demanding as that guy. And so I learned everything about customer service I needed to know from him, and I learned everything about complicated negotiations. I learned, listen hard, see what he really wants, give it to him as fast as he can, and then get everything you need fast. And honestly, that has served me well at Nickelodeon, Oxygen, even Disney. But that's another story. Don't ask me about that. So I also learned how to manage my boss from my son, because they had lots of similarities. I also talked about how men and women see winning differently. Now, my husband of 42 years loves me dearly, but he actually likes me to lose when we play Scrabble almost nightly. Yet I feel good if I play well, and I feel good if he plays well. But he actually doesn't feel good unless I lose. And that is a very big difference, because in our DNA, we like winners. We like to be surrounded with them. Don't get me wrong, I want to win. But I want you and you and you and you to win as well. We like lifting up winners. And we don't get any particular juice out of, biting off someone's head or having them lose. Win-win, which I talked about in that famous 1989 speech, was not talked about in those days. Now it's talked about all over the place. The common practice was paternalistic, top-down, command and control management. And I was particularly lucky to have a boss at Nickelodeon who was excellent at paternalistic top-down management so that I could be mentored on what not to do when I got a chance to run Nickelodeon. I am such a nerd and such a dweeb. I kept a notebook on what I would do if I got a chance to run Nickelodeon. Page 1, no sexual harassment, okay? Now, that's a whole nother speech, and thank God it's really changed, but that was my first rule. Second rule, let's do it as a team. Let's pretend that we own Nickelodeon. Let's get everybody together and decide we're gonna put on a show, and we're gonna do something great for kids, and let's let everybody own that, and let's let everybody feel like their neck is jointly in the noose with mine. And it actually worked beautifully. And we had a program called the Presidents in Training Program, where every one of my team were presidents in training. There was a little bit of competition in the early days where they didn't cooperate exactly perfectly. And I discovered that if I identified it and said, you know what, you guys, all of you have the potential of being a president. One of you will get to be president of Nickelodeon. But I promise you I'll train you all. And what that did was everybody parked their agenda at the door. They had to act like a CEO. And so, you know, that was the secret to my real success there, besides being a woman. The third page of the book, What to Not Do when I Got a Chance, was my boss thought in reasonable terms, what was achievable. He thought, let's be good, on time, and on budget. And I wasn't interested in any of those things because I came to Nickelodeon to build something great for kids. And I was driven to do it. And I believed that if we didn't think big, nobody else was gonna. And we got laughed at. They howled at my presentation in 1987 when I told them that Nickelodeon was going to be the Disney of the 90s. They howled, they were rolling on the floors laughing. And now, today, Nickelodeon props up Viacom. But anyway, there was a little bit more in the speech about the nature of women. We're more collaborative. We are great long-term thinkers. We're continuous improvers. So when I started out in business, there were absolutely no studies and no data on how women do as managers. Now, today, there are a million studies from Kalamazoo, Missouri to Foster City, California. And in all of those studies, we do on par or better than men in just about every attribute, from building teams, to collaboration, to financial planning, every kind of score, except for 2. Anybody have an idea about what those 2 might be? Number 1, yes?
Rising to the top.
Well, that's true. We'd like to see more of that. But number 1 is we don't toot our own horn. We don't brag about what we do. And number 2, we don't take risks without all the information. We're very reluctant to trust our intuition. I'm going to talk about that first because I think because of the scene that we were trying to be like men, we didn't want to give them the clue that we had this fantastic intuition, so we never mentioned it. But there's a well-known fact, or at least this is about a decade-old information, that 80% of all business decisions get made on gut and only 20% on data. I think with the proliferation of the internet, that's probably now 30%. So, but when you think about that and the fact that women were separated from claiming how great their intuition was, that was really something. And we instead thought we had to be perfect. We had to cross every T, dot every I. We had to be completely perfect. So back to that first thing, tooting our own horn. It's hard for us. And one of the things I speak about whenever I'm with a group of women is it's fine if you can't toot your own horn. But here's a practice that really worked well for me. If you can't toot your own horn, toot another woman's horn. Because the more you toot positive stuff, the more other women toot positive stuff. And by the way, feel free to toot about a deserving man. They deserve to be tooted too. But, you know, to me, this idea of sticking together and supporting is a really big deal. And I was always the first person at MTV Networks who got into the executive suite, and I was always so eager to have Sarah Levinson or Judy McGrath join me, and I would see this phenomenon. I know this has never happened to anybody in this room, especially the young women, but Sarah would come in the room and say something. She was new to the group, and it was as if she didn't speak. And so I would repeat what she said, endorse the idea, and sometimes we'd get a reaction, sometimes not. 10 minutes later, Mark or Jim or Tom would say the same thing, and everybody'd say, "That's brilliant." And I'd say, "Thank you for supporting Sarah's idea, because that really is a good idea." What happened? So we never really spoke about this, and I don't know that we were really conscious of what we were doing, but gradually we started this thing called the Power Chicks. And it started by just going out drinking and celebrating somebody's promotion. And then it got a little bigger, and then we got known that there was this group, the Power Chicks, and the men got nervous. "What are you doing? What do you do at your meetings?" I said, "We drink." "No, you don't." "Yes, that's what we do. We just drink. That's all we did." And I want to tell you something. Find a group of girls and get your martinis. Because we need those martinis. I support women because, one, it improves the decision-making process in any organization. Geena Davis, who has her own gender institute, was speaking the other day, and she recounted a study at Harvard where they put 8 geniuses, high IQ, white men in a room together and gave them a problem. And they took 8 average, diverse people with average IQs, and they gave them the same problem. Okay, who had the best solution? The diverse thinkers. And it's just, you know, I believe having men and women at the table together gets the best results. So that's why I spend my time on this. And I spend a lot of time with entrepreneurial young women and older women, my own age, because I believe that ownership is the next step for us. And until we learn how to get access to capital and raise appropriate amounts of money and stop launching our businesses on our credit cards, that we will get to the scale that we need to change the culture in business that needs to happen in this country. But I went to Rutgers to speak to a group of women. They have a terrific group called the Advancement for Women's Leadership for a Just World. And it reminded me of why I support women. Because when women lead, when women serve, when women own, it's a win-win, and the world wins. Thank you very much.